It's Nay. And welcome to welcome back or welcome to Nay's Little Garden at Home. So we're gonna talk about a raised bed that I actually went ahead and purchased. So grab your little drink, a little snack, and we'll hop, skip, jump right into it. All right, so slight change to the whole situation. I originally was going to add two 6x3 foot raised beds. That's not happening. I went ahead and purchased a 5x3 foot raised bed after looking at the space, and I just feel like that would make more sense. One, because I only intend to add one of the arched trellis things to it, the cattle panels, if you will. And there we go. And so I felt like once I looked at the space, the 6x3, like I live, it's a little slopey, so coming that far out would be obnoxious, and using only one of the cattle panels would leave so much extra space at the end that it just didn't make any sense. So I have here, I technically placed out them, but I didn't use 18 square feet anyway. I was using 15, literally. If I show you my chicken scratch, see my 6x3, I was using 15. So I'm just gonna continue to use 15, and these are just gonna be tighter beds, because what I have there is I had scribbled out the center portion of both of the raised beds because I'm gonna plant some type of squash. So I hadn't even specifically planted out an exact number of squash that I wanted to put out there. But I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Literally, I go 5 rows down. So my queen of night tomato, royal paste tomato, and then a bread and salt. And then inside of one way, I go bread and salt again. And then on the other side, I have the Bountylicious, Paul Robeson, Dr. Weish. And then one in is the Dr. Weish. Now, I have 3 on the inside of that as orange oxheart, and dad's sunset. I don't know if that's gonna stay there, but I think how I have the exterior lined up of just tomatoes for that is probably gonna do some good. And then in the middle, I'll probably plant one squash. No, I'll definitely plant one squash per square foot, so 5 down, so that they can go up and down, and that should be good. I do want to say I'm having a hard time finding things to do with the tromboncino squash, and it's huge. And I feel like when it comes to doing stuff like I'm still gonna grow it next year because I'm still gonna use this stuff. It just takes more thinking, but I'm gonna only do one plant of tromboncino squash. I'm gonna probably try to grow 2 and then put the best one in there, because I think I need to just grow like acorn squash and the butternut squash and the honey nut squash. Those are gonna be my priorities because the size of they're just massive and they taste fine. I like how they taste. My husband will eat it, but my kids are less likely to eat it, versus when I do like the butternut squash or the honey nut squash, they're more likely to eat it. So that's just something personally for me I want to let you guys know. If you need something and you have like adults in your household, or it's like you need to eat, this is all we have, the tromboncino squash is probably your best bet to grow. That's just fact. They're huge. They're still storing very well. But that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to flavoring, because kids don't care. Kids will not eat something and then you have to figure something else out. So, and I'm not here to stress them out, just to stress them out. But that's what I'm working with right now. So I'm gonna get another 5x3 raised bed. I'm probably gonna get the exact same 5x3 raised bed that I purchased, and I'll put those 2 there. I'll get 1 cattle panel. The cattle panels are kind of expensive. I think it was like $50 or something, but you're only, or something like that. And I'm gonna get 1 and then put that in there, and then I'll be able to grow up. So I think in the 8x4 foot raised beds, the 2 I have with the 2 cattle panels, I'll probably go ahead and put my 1 tromboncino squash there. In my 5x3 raised beds, I think I'm gonna do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'll probably do like the acorn and squash, and then I'm gonna do 2 butternut butternut, and then I'll do a honey nut next to it, and another honey nut. So that entire one side is only going to be one acorn squash, 2 butternuts, and 2 honey nuts. This way I'll have storage that will actually consume. And what I'm probably going to do, this is not 100% factual information. I have a lot of onions that I have already purchased. I've already bought them, right? They're going to come in around March, and I'm going to put them in the ground. I'm probably in the center of these. I don't want to put more tomatoes and peppers, so I'm probably going to put onions in the middle there. The reason for this is because a lot of these beds are kind of rounded at the edges. So when you're looking at the square footage of it, it kind of like it's encroaching a bit on it. So I'll probably put onions there and onions in the middle of the other raised bed. That's why I was like, I'm not sure about these Orange Hawks Hearts and that Sunset, but we're going to see. I'm also not putting anything in the middle one towards, because it's a fence where I'm going to put it, right? So you have the fence and then you have the raised beds. That middle portion that's closest to it, I'm probably going to put absolutely nothing, because I think reaching into there is going to be a pain in the patootie, because I feel like my 8 by 4 foot raised beds, reaching in between to get stuff was just something I didn't do like that, because I was scared of bugs. I was scared of something dropping on my hand, and so I don't want to plant stuff there and then not harvest it. So I also want to give space to the plants that I have going. But I think onions would be fine, and then you're going to take out onions, what? July, beginning of July, end of June, beginning of July, it really depends, whatever. And so they'll still have space to keep growing after you remove the onions as well. Or I might place some carrots, right? And then they're gonna get slightly shaded anyway by the tomatoes and the squash a little bit. So I think that's gonna be fine. What's interesting is with the grow bags I have, which I don't feel like is a lot, most of my tomatoes and peppers get planted out in these grow bags, and then I can put the 3 or 4 of my top 5, which if you haven't seen that video, go ahead and watch that video. I show you my top 5 tomatoes and peppers I'm growing for 2026, and all that means is I'm gonna grow 3 to 4, probably more like 4, well, definitely more like 4 to 5 of those plants, versus everything else is gonna have about 2 plants. This way I'll get more of the ones that I felt where the taste was great, the harvest was great, stuff like that. I'm still kind of confused about what I'm going to plant in my polytunnel, because the polytunnel makes it so I can plant things earlier, right? So what does that mean? So if I live in the zone 6 and our last frost date is like the week before Mother's Day about, and so most people plant out around Mother's Day just to make it extra safe. I can plant things in there, like I would plant out greens, carrots, beets, like root vegetables in there. But if I plant those in there, it's gonna be into the summer before I harvest them, and then it's gonna start getting hot, right? So now you have this back and forth of what should I actually plant in there. I planted calendula, and I had an overabundance of calendula last year, and I don't drink calendula. I only use it for salves, so I don't want to plant that in there. So I'm wondering if perhaps my chamomile, I drink so much chamomile tea, I can't explain to you. It's intense. Lemon balm and chamomile, I drink so much of it, and I'm scared to plant lemon balm anywhere but in my green stalks, because I'm not playing with it taking over any raised bed. So I'm probably gonna just toss a whole bunch of chamomile seeds. Not this year, but last year in 2024, I had planted some tomatoes, and those things, I was picking tomatoes forever. I also had peppers in there this year, and that animal really botched stuff, but I think that peppers would do good in there. I had to look and really think about this, because I've been really focusing on my tomatoes and peppers, because I know I use a lot of tomatoes and peppers in stuff, like in general, but I think that forgetting your carrots, your beets, onions is not a good thing. I have my garlic planted out, and I've got to say it, we keep having like snow melt. I hope it's not messing with my poor garlic. But it's cold, so it should, be fine. I'm interested to know how you guys are going to plant out your garden, because in one aspect, I want to do like raised bed, like specific raised bed planting. Like, okay, this is gonna be tomatoes, this is gonna be peppers, this is gonna be onions, this is gonna be garlic. But when I go and actually write this stuff out, it just doesn't make any sense. So I have a few 2x4 raised beds, right? And I do have to move them. My husband and I were supposed to move it this year before it got too cold, because we ended up planting an apple tree right in between them, and I want the apple tree to have space to grow. And so I need to move them, but it's fine, I can. Anyway, I'm saying all of this to say those 2x4 foot raised beds did not get utilized very well this year in 2025, and I want to better utilize them for 2026, because I kind of just threw stuff in there, and I don't think it just wasn't very useful. And it's so funny because I had those in 2024 and I grew stuff in, and I was like, oh my gosh, stuff is growing so well in them. And then I got my bigger raised beds, and then I kind of feel like they're super small, but a 2x4 foot raised bed can grow you a good amount of stuff. And that's gonna be my next like video or two. I'm gonna talk about growing specific things. Like if you have two 2x4 foot raised beds, here are the things you can grow in it, because you can grow a sugar ton. If you have a 3x3 raised bed, 3x3 raised beds, this is what you can grow in it. I think that who was it, somebody said like you can grow a lot in a 4x4 bed. You certainly can. That's 16 square feet. That's a sugar ton of stuff. But even if you don't want to have that, you want to have a 2x4, you can get a 2x4 foot raised bed fairly affordably on Amazon, like let's say 25, 30, 35 bucks. And then filling it, yeah, that's gonna cost a little bit more money, but you can get, like, I'm just being real with you, cheap soil to put down. Let's say you get 4 bags of 1 cubic foot garbage soil, like whatever the worst soil is, right? And then you get 1 bag of compost, 1 or 2 bags of compost for the top, or 1 or 2 bags of a much better one. Like Happy Frog is such a good soil. I know it's expensive, but you just topping that up on there, that's gonna help you grow. And then you get you some fertilizer. I'm about to order fertilizer probably today from M.I. Gardner. I'm gonna get his liquid fertilizer because I have blood meal and bone meal, so I really don't feel like I need to get like the granular fertilizer right now. I can always change my mind, but for now I'm just gonna get his medium size of the liquid fertilizer, because I think his fertilizer is really good. And the plants I've started, I've gotten lighter leaves, so I think they need to start getting fertilized. So I'll probably pick up a little something from like Walmart or something, and then wait for that to come in, and then keep doing that. And then you kind of just like fertilize every like 2 weeks or so. And I think you're gonna end up with a lot of harvest. But yeah, look out for that 2x4 foot raised beds, what I would plant in them. But I think that it's best to, in general, it's best to look at each one of your raised beds as its own entity, because it's just so hard to be like, I'm just gonna plant beans in this, I'm just gonna plant tomatoes in this, I'm just gonna plant this in this, because the numbers usually don't add up, right? So if I'm sitting here like I want to have 65 tomato plants, and I have 6x3 is 15, let's say 15, 8, 5, 10, that's 15, that's 45, 65, and then I have my and then my grow bags. So I'm sitting here like looking at each raised bed and just planting solely tomatoes in that, and then okay, I need to plant these extra 2 tomatoes. You can put them in grow bags, sure, but I think 1, it's not gonna bring you joy, right? It might bring me joy. It won't bring me joy. 2, I feel like versatility in each raised bed is better, right? So if I have onions and garlic amongst other things, my garlic is in one raised bed, but I'm just saying it's more likely to make other insects that are not good not bother your stuff, versus when you're kind of like monoculturing, it's almost more like unnatural. If that makes any sense, hit that like button. If it doesn't, hit that subscribe button, because I think eventually, the more you garden, the more you try to mimic nature. And when you're trying to mimic nature, you realize you cannot try to have the most perfect looking anything, because doing that is going to cause you to stress yourself out, because it's just not going to look like that. And it really shouldn't look like that, even when it comes to like tomatoes and stuff. So I was thinking of how I have my little tomato cages, but those are better for pepper plants, right? And I was thinking about, okay, if I get a 10-foot high, if I get 4 to 10 foot high wooden, like 2x4s or whatever, right? And then I get a 7 or 8 foot, 7 to 9 foot long one as well to put on top. And then I put 2, and I do it twice, right? 2 of them, right? So then you have this, and then this, and then like this. And then get, what is it? What's the width of it? 3 foot or 4 foot, or 4 foot and 5 foot, so it's longer than it. And put that on there. And then I do the what am I saying right now? The garden wire, and I let them grow up that. I've seen a couple people, millennial gardener I think has done that. That might help it so that my tomatoes can grow taller. Now the situation with that is 10 feet is very high. So maybe I would do maybe 6 feet actually. 6 feet is probably more reasonable for me. Yeah, I'll probably do like a 6 feet high, and then whatever the length of, a little bit longer than the length of the thing, a little bit wider than the width of the raised bed, and do it like that because I want to give my tomatoes the opportunity to keep growing. I feel like at one point they kind of toppled over in the tomato cage this past year, and I don't want it to do that the following year, which is why I also wasn't trying to overcrowd my raised beds, because I don't want to prune it as much, because I want it to have a couple more what are they called, like the suckers. Not a lot, right? So if I grow 4 Dr. Weisches, 2 of them I will prune, so they have like 2 main stems, and then the other ones I'll let go, and I'll see how that affects the size and the quantity of tomatoes that I get. Does that make sense? I feel like that's gonna help me really see each variety is probably gonna have a better option, and each one's gonna be probably different. I also feel like my peppers did significantly better in my grow bags, which is why when I was planting, like doing my grow bags, guys, please don't judge me for my handwriting, but when I was doing the grow bags, I was primarily planting out just the peppers in them, because you really could just do a 1 grow bag, right? 20 gallon, 15 gallon, 10 gallon, or 2 peppers in like the 20 gallon ones, and put the tomato cage, and they just grow up, and then they really bush out, and that bushing out creates so many peppers, and so that was really impressive to me. So I'd rather save the raised bed for my tomatoes, my carrots, my onions, and then I was sitting here like, okay, so I have a 8x4 foot wooden raised bed that I had created with the little stones on the corners. That has just my garlic and a few tomatoes in there. When I pull out my garlic, what am I gonna plant in there? Now that one gets a little bit more shade, so we're gonna see how that garlic does. But I think it'll be fine, because in the heat of the summer, it's definitely getting about 6 to 8 hours for sure of sunlight. But I was sitting there like, that might be the prime space and the prime time to go in and plant some greens in there, right? You want to like create a generalized idea of what you're gonna plant and the successions of things that you're gonna plant, because if you don't, when it comes to time to pull out things, or when it comes time to harvest, whatever, you're going to sit there and be twiddling your thumbs, or you're going to put something in there that doesn't per se make sense, or you don't need to plant. Like I had a good amount of tomato plants. I did not have enough pepper plants. I feel like when it came to harvesting my peppers, I harvested peppers, but not at the rate I harvested my tomatoes. And the peppers that I did harvest in good quantity were spicy peppers. So I have here a sugar ton of sweeter peppers while still growing spicy peppers. So I did put in my Matt's pepper order. So I ordered 7 different peppers. I'm very excited for those to come in, and they will get their own grow bag. But I really wanted to make sure that my sweet peppers got a good, like I needed to grow almost, if not as many pepper plants as I did tomato plants, and I needed to be out there watching those plants, because if I see an animal that has been munching on those plants, I cannot play with those, and I need to capture that animal and get rid of it. Like my neighbor ended up capturing the animal that ate my plants this year, but if I see another one next year, or I see the biting of one, I need to catch it, because that set back my pepper plants very far, and it was biting more of my pepper plants than it was any other plant, which is very interesting to me. Anyway, that's all I want to talk about today. Let's talk down in the comment section about how you're planning to succession plan and if you're using more than one medium, right? Like grow bags and raised beds, and what you feel like works better in each one of those. But I just wanted to let you guys know about that 5x3 because I'm definitely going to switch to 5x3 and I'll just plant it properly and see how that goes. And this is a new brand, so I'll let you know how I'm feeling about it because like these are cheaper galvanized raised beds. I keep looking at the ones that are a little more money, and the price is just a lot. I told you I am gonna buy at least one though, but the price is high for those raised beds, and it almost feels like, okay, is this worth the price? And I feel like a lot of people are very happy with it, but I think it's a barrier to entry for a lot of other people. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm just overthinking it, but let's talk, and hopefully I see you in my next video. Bye bye.